Hi, now we want to talk about today with you about the Hong Kong protests. So what's going on over there and what might be the risk for global economy and trade. As you know, the Hong Kong protests have entered the third month, and the numbers of the protesters in one protest, although it has been decreasing, the number of the protests are increasing. After especially August, we have been seeing that almost every day there's a protest on the streets. Before it was like once or twice a week, but with a couple of 100,000 people were gathered. Now we are seeing tens of thousands gathered, but daily, and which also emphasize that the protests are intensifying their dislikes to the problem. The problem, as you know, was Chinese intervention on the Hong Kong's legislation, telling them that they can take the criminals to China land, and they can, use their own laws over there for those people, which the people from Hong Kong strongly disagree. It's basically an intervention of the laws to Hong Kong private land. Although the Carrie, the Hong Kong chief executive, said that they are working within the existing laws to curb the protests, amid speculation, it might invoke Emergency Regulations Ordinance, which would lead the still leaders or the elites or advisors to make any regulations whatsoever deemed desirable in order for the public interests. This might be seen as a very good gesture from the Beijing, but the protesters dislike it. They want the legislations to be withdrawn by the government in Hong Kong. Therefore, now we have been seeing some different characters or behaviors from the protests. Now, as I told you, starting from May or mid-May or April yesterday, up until the end of July, we have been seeing an increasing number of protesters in a protest. They accumulate from thousands to 100,000 in one protest. The protests usually take in twice in a week or once in a week, but it was hundreds of thousands. Now we are seeing almost from the 1st of August till today that almost a day there is a protest, but a couple of thousands to a couple of 10,000 they were gathering and they were protesting. This shows that there are now many more groups on the streets, and each group most likely have a different demand from the Chinese or from the government in Hong Kong. The good news for the Chinese or Beijing is that once you have number of different protesters have fractured into smaller groups, so you can deal them effectively because they will have less powers. The worst thing about this, because you have to deal with them individually, you are going to lose time, and it means that it will be intensified, the protests will be intensified. This is the problem, because now the occurrence of these protests will take daily, so you have to be always there, and this is time-based consuming. The other thing that we have been seeing is that now the protests usually come, or the protesters come together on a square, usually this huge vast number of people, and they protest, they announce their demands from the government or from the other side, and then they usually stop and go home. Here now, since August, we have been seeing that there are some people with the Molotov cocktails, and they were damaging the business and the shops around, and they are now getting a little bit radicalized, which is bad for the business and the economy in Hong Kong, which is not also most likely will be accepted by the Hong Kong government. But is it only Hong Kong government that will not be accepting this? I do believe that it will be a problem in Beijing in future, because we have been seeing from the main city center of Beijing, Hong Kong, this has started to be distributed to the other regions of Hong Kong, which is a bad sign for Beijing, and that's why it will take longer time than anticipated at first. So we have received and read some reports that the security forces or law enforcement are nearby at this moment Hong Kong, which means that Beijing is considering to I will say, intervene the protests by security force if deemed to be. They already consider this. This is why these security forces are very much near to Hong Kong. If this will happen, it will be likely a bloody one, and that's for sure, almost sure, because of the demands and the way it has been reacted up until now. We don't think that it will be a peaceful one. If this will happen, most likely it will add another problem to on the top of the list between the trade war and the deterioration relations between between China and United States. But not only to that, the EU and other major Asian powers also will have problems with this intervention. Although China will not bend their requests, which international powers request, there will be more sanctions or economic sanctions in future to China, which is going to for sure disturb the economy, the global economy, or the globalization, let's say, very much. Which means for Turkey, what does it mean? Yeah, because the economic global, if this will be preferred by Chinese government or Beijing, that there will be harsh intervention, and then there will be some sanctions to follow up these sanctions by EU, US, and other global powers, Asian powers. It means that Turkey will find it hard to sell its products to other countries because the economy will be disturbed, which means that we are not going to buy more raw materials in order to generate or produce goods, which means that we will only buy the raw materials to meet with the needs of the domestic markets, which means that the trade deficit will be decreased, which is good for the budget. However, it's not good because we are taking the efficient steps or the measurements. It's good because just the trade is decreasing. But if it is going to take place, then it will be followed up with a kind of economic stimulus programs, such as printing some more monies, like it has been done in 2008, and that's going to or 12, and that's going to increase again the money supply, which means that then these developing countries are going to receive all this money supply because of the financial advantages, and we will see the same circle again from 2008 to 2012 once again. But it's not good for Turkey in that regard unless we are taking real measurements or economic measurements to recover the economy. That's what we see for Hong Kong, and that's why Hong Kong is very important to global economy and trade and economic activities, because something has happened bad there. This is what's going to happen shortly then. So if you like this video, there's a like button underneath the screen. Please press on it, and we will be happy if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, so you will be the first to hear and to listen. Thank you for watching this video, and have a great day. Bye.